Tamil language, as Agnes has pointed out in the last session, Tamil language, one of the ancient languages on the planet, has found its partners in the third edition of Chennai International Book Fair. And Agnes was talking about signing 25 contracts with publishers, Indian publishers, to take some of the best literature. And she says it is only the start, the potential is great, and we will be discussing that with you. And we talk about both sides, what you can bring to the table and what we can bring to the table. And I hand over this to Mr. Lawrence to start the conversation.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. I forgot the greeting in Tamil. Yeah, that one. First and foremost, I'm very excited to be here today. It's my first time in Chennai. I've heard a lot about Chennai. All along I knew, or rather from Kenya where I come from, we knew Chennai to be a medical town. That is what we know it for. But since I landed here, I've been very excited to know that the culture and the language is very deep, and that the people are very steeped in their ways, which is exactly where Africa is. Now, APNET, African Publishers Network, is the umbrella body of all publishers in Africa. We represent, and I don't like saying this, but it's a fact, we represent Anglophone, Francophone, Portuguese-speaking, Arabic-speaking, and our own local languages. The reason I don't like saying this is because Africa is one. We are not two Africa. And we shouldn't be divided along colonial boundaries, or rather we should be united through our own endeavors as such as these ones. As Africa, we have a lot going on there. Let me just give you a few figures just to think about. 1.8 billion. It's about the size of India, I think. 2.5 billion is a population we expect by the year 2050. That's not even the exciting news, if you ask me. 68% of the 1.8 billion is youth population, between ages 15 to 24 years. As a matter of fact, Africa is home to the fastest growing youth population in the world. What does that mean for us as book people? This is the market we are targeting. These are the people who are going to read. These are the people who are going to create. These are the people who are going to innovate. It therefore means in the next 15 to 20 years, Africa will be the place to be in. And I want to congratulate this government for already having the foresight to involve Africa at this time. The beauty about Africans, Mohammed, you've worked in Africa, you know this. Africans are very loyal. And maybe that is why we are still stuck in our colonial era. We are very loyal. And the kind of young men and women who are being produced today out of our education systems are globally becoming very competitive. When I looked at the cultures, most of African countries, and by the way, they are almost similar in approach. If you come to Kenya, where I come from, for example, we have 44 ethnic grouping. I don't call them tribes because that is very, very colonial. We call them ethnic grouping. Each of those has 44, of the 44, each is a language by itself. Africa is home to over 2,000 115 languages, local languages. These are languages written in, not dialects. These are languages. But the last about 20 years, 319 languages have died. I want you to imagine your own local language dying. What does that mean? It goes back to the very basic that children are supposed, or rather they think best in their local language first before they can think of another language. If that language dies, who will recover it? 100 years from today, we would not have been talking about Tamil if it had died. We are here today because Tamil is there. Now, why I'm very excited about what we are doing here today is that the translations that we are going to do will be in our languages, various languages. If you come to Eastern, Central, and parts of Southern Africa, the main predominant local language is Kiswahili. This is spoken in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, the DRC, parts of the Southern Africa, including South Africa itself. Equally, we have other bigger languages. Yoruba, the Shona, the Ndebele, Hausa. There's this big language in Ghana, Ashanti Twi. You know, we have quite a bit of rich languages that we cannot allow for them to disappear. How do we protect them? It is through programs like this, where we can have translation and translation rights, and we start thinking how to propagate those languages and maintain them, for not just for ourselves. We are charged with that responsibility to protect our languages the way Tamil has been protected over the years. When I landed at the airport, I do not know why, the gentleman who received me thought, obviously, I know Tamil. And he spoke to me in Tamil. What caught my ear was the tongue, the pronunciation was very close to my own pronunciation. I could tell it doesn't take long. It will not take long for me to learn Tamil. We have very, very, very heavily shared history, especially in the east coast of Africa, between India as a country and east coast of Africa. When the British colonized Kenya, they decided to build a railway that was going to come from Mombasa all the way to Kisumu, what they were calling Fort Florence. And the only skilled labor was only available in India. And they brought Indians to come and build the railroad. Of course, there was a lot of challenges. A lot of them died from malaria. Others were killed by the local communities who did not understand why they were trying to build a snake through the hills. But even more catastrophic, a lot of them died, were eaten by lions. But the road was built, the railway was built. And today, like in Kenya, we have a very strong community of Indians who are not just originally Indian, but totally Kenyan Indians, for example. And I'm just trying to show you the importance of what we are doing here today, because you don't know what will come out tomorrow. When in our national holidays, for example, in Kenya, and the president is addressing the nation, we first start with prayers. And we'll have a Christian prayer, and we'll have a Muslim prayer, and we'll have a Hindu prayer. It stops there. It shows you where we have placed India as a country. When you look at the language itself, Kiswahili, we have a lot of shared words. I don't know what you call meza. Meza in Hindu. I think it's called mez. I am teaching you Hindu in India. Sufuria. We have a lot of words that share the same meaning. And this is because of the collaboration we began then. Maybe 50 years from today, we'll be talking about the same collaboration we have begun here. Books already translated from Tamil or into English or into Kiswahili. And there are those words that will never be interpreted into anything else. So for me, I'm quite excited that we are here, and that this program aims at building collaboration, building practical business collaboration that is supposed to ensure that as publishers, what is our core mandate, we're able to sell across borders, move across borders, experience the cultures. Even if for nothing else, as a publisher, what I have seen and I have heard, I can easily translate it into a book. But if I did not come to Tamil, I did not come to Chenia, I would not have heard about Navakam. Have I pronounced it well? Navakam? Vanakam. Yes. See, I'm getting it. And that is the collaboration I'm talking about. As APNET, we want to make you a promise that what we began here, we are few that came, but we reach all the 54 member states of Africa. At least about 40 our members. We'll be able to reach them, spread the good news, and where possible, spread collaboration. So I'll end here, but I'm available for any other comment. Thank you.
Okay. My chairman has said a lot, so I will just add some few points about what APNET can do to promote the translation of books from Tamil language to other African languages. As chairman said, the first most important thing is we sharing the information to African publishers. We have a lot of African publishers there. So far, for the 40 African countries, we have about 2,000 publishers who are members of the National Publishers Associations in these 40 countries. And there are also publishers who are not members of the National Publishers Association. Yes, so we are talking about almost 10,000 publishers within Africa, which is a huge number of publishers. So we are going to spread the news to them about the Chennai International Book Fair, the fellowship program, and the various catalogs that we have received. We are going to share with the publishers for them to identify titles that they are interested in. And I believe, Ali, you can help them get some grants to do the translations. The second thing is we are also encouraging the organizers of Chennai International Book Fair to attend some of the African book fairs. It's one powerful way you can also activate the promotion of your language there. we sharing the information cannot reach everyone, but your presence can also add to the promotion and the awareness we are creating. So later on, I will share the list of African book fairs, the dates and the venues, as well as the contacts of the organizers. Then you can identify those you are interested in, and then contact the organizers and try and participate. Yes, I believe it will be a good platform for you to meet as many publishers as possible. And because it's Africa, let's say Nairobi International Book Fair, you will not find only Kenyan publishers there. You will find some other publishers there, Ghana, Nigeria, Egypt, Morocco, and the rest. Yeah, so it's very important. The next thing has to do with, I think one challenge we have in Africa is that our governments have not established translation grants. Yeah, so African publishers buying from India and other countries is possible because of the translation grant. Yeah, one experience I've had over the 2 days is that some of them are interested in buying the translation rights from Africa. But the moment you tell them, oh, we don't have any grants, then they become discouraged. Yes, I believe with time, our governments will understand the need to create that. And APNET is also working with some other partners to institute translation grants. So once it goes through, it can also help to facilitate this thing. And also, APNET participates in a number of international book fairs. We also support the promotion and promote the participation of African publishers in international book fairs within Africa and outside Africa. So all these things are ways we are promoting the translation of books in different languages, not only Tamil languages, but other languages as well. So let me end here. If there is any follow-up question, I can contribute to that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I've been asked to talk on a different note since my chairman and the executive director have spoken so well about, the benefits of collaborating with APNET. He wants me to talk about the Nigerian Book Fair, which will be coming up in May. Like the executive director said, he's going to share the details of the book fairs in Africa with the Chennai Book Fair, International Book Fair organizers. That of Nigerian Book Fair is one of the, biggest book fairs in Africa, maybe born out of the population of Nigeria or the size of Nigeria. Coming up in May in Lagos. Lagos has always been chosen being the center of commercial activities in Nigeria, and the first point of call when you arrive in Nigeria by air or even by sea, as the case may be. So the issue of convenience is always there. You get out of the airport and straight to the venue of the book fair. The venue is just about 20 minutes drive from the airport, from the international airport. This time around, efforts are being made by the organizers of the book fair to attract international participants and make the environment so conducive for them to have the comfort of their stay in Nigeria, and particularly in Lagos. It's a 3-day affair, just like we are going to have here, and I want to urge individuals that may not have participated before to make attempts to participate. It's going to be a very good experience at the end of the day. And like he said, a lot of publishers will be in attendance, both local publishers in particular, and maybe neighboring countries' publishers. But like I said earlier, this time around, we are making efforts to ensure that we attract other international participants. So it's going to be a very good experience. And Nigeria having a very big market. You know, we have a population of over 200 million. Out of this particular figure, I can say with all sense of responsibility that over 100 million of that, you know, are still of school age, are still of reading age and things like that. So it's a very huge market where a lot of collaborations can result in huge, mutually beneficial, you know, results. So I want to urge you to look at it and put it in your schedule after the details may have been shared accordingly by APNET AD and the organizers of Chennai Book Fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, and thank you, the government of this state and the city, Chennai. I'm really, really impressed, and I'm an Ethiopian publisher who lives in America, but recently I returned to Ethiopia and established a press in Ethiopia. And as someone who lived outside, especially in the US for a long time, I am the outsider, I am the minority in the group of America. But when I arrived here, as Lawrence earlier mentioned, I literally felt that I came home. There are so many faces I could mistaken to my uncle and my aunt or my sisters. And this feeling that I experienced, it's truly, truly magical. And as he mentioned earlier, somebody mistaken me and came and talked to me in Tamil language. That is the most beautiful gift that you can give to a person who I lived as an exile in the West. So I wanted to say that I'm happy that I came home. After saying that, the knowledge production, even though it started in Africa as humanity began, we didn't just born or created in Africa and went around the world and start to speak their language. Actually, it's us who started to talk our language, tell our stories. But how the colonialist structure happened 500 years ago with the publishing industry booming, the story was written about us from the north. And most of us don't know about ourselves, let alone our neighbors or those who are within our hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. So this what Chennai Book Festival, what you guys have done is that to bring us together. And now it's our responsibility to share our stories, to translate each other's stories and reach out to our people. If the number of our population, not only that the youth population in the continent is larger, but also it's also a growing market. Business-wise, we are growing faster than most of other countries in the world. So for that, we have to prepare. For that, we have to start to translate our stories, not only with India or with Tamil Nadu and Chennai, but within the continent itself, that myself and a Ghanaian brother from the other side of the continent or my neighbor from Kenya, we have to do that. And we are in the process of establishing a much larger railway lines. That's not going, a line is not going to eat us. We have to translate it. So the translation is going to become important. And what you do here is important, and we thank you so much. And with APNET and the other relationship and the other networks that we are about to start in the continent, And we are going to be your strong partner. And I don't have words to really thank you all. And the future is with this collaboration, with relationship, and with all the skills that we have gathered around the world, we are bringing it home, and then we are bringing it to you across the ocean. So thank you again.
Okay, as you said, Chairman said, we are representing Kenya, Uganda. No, I'm representing entire Africa. So I've been traveled entire Africa. So I know what is available there, and what we can able to take it, and what we can able to give it to you back. What is my request, as you said, if in Ghana book fair, it's only Ghanaian available. Maybe 1 or 2 Nigerians, even I've not seen the Togo, Benin. So the reason behind is that we could not able to travel to Ghana. The fare is too high. So we should have the continent that connect everybody on every planet. So why don't we choose a country to have the yearly one African book fair, international African book fair, where they easily access for the flights and everything. Even I went to the Kenyan book fair, most of them is a stationary book fair. Only a couple of printers, very few publishers were participating. No, it's changed. Okay. Even I supported for Uganda book fair, it doesn't go up. Okay. Even I've been participating in Zimbabwe, then later on I participated in Cape Town. So everything could not go. Only Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya was still running professionally such a long time. So if we choose a country within the Africa, will it possible to participate being APNET? Can you just bring all the entire Africa into that part? And we will bring the Asia. And she is representing Francophone. Agnes is doing whatever, I can say the best what she's doing. So we are ready to support, to promote. It's not, CIBF is not only promoting Tamil. We always say we give equal space to every language in the world. What way that APNET can support if we create a new book fair in Africa? That should be international, not local book fair.
I tried to mention earlier, I was in exile for 24 years, and I'm still living there, but I live for 30 years in America. And one thing that is missing is that what you just said, that we're not connected. And sometimes to travel from West Africa to another African country, normally we used to go to France and come back to Ethiopia. But with Ethiopian Airlines connecting the entire continent, becoming the center of hub, and with our activist publishing background in the US, and we're trying to create, with the relationship with Ethiopian Airlines, getting discounts for the travels within the continent to come to Ethiopia, and to have, with African Union being there, Economic Commission for Africa being there, we're trying to bring all the African publishing with this sense of responsibility, and with grants for translation, and following the model of Sharjah and Chennai. And we are working on that new project. We have a project that we're yet to announce, and I'm happy that I'm sharing it here in Chennai because of the points you're raising. So we're not sleeping on the wheel. We are really waking up. That's the difference. You know, we have been quiet. We have to come through so much to get here, but we are here now. And we're going to collaborate with our brothers within the continent and with our partners around the world, especially the South Hemisphere, and so that we can be able to take where we should be in the future. So.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. I'm very happy because he's my neighbor on the north, so it will mean for me to be a very short trip. Exactly. We have about 5 strong book fairs in Africa as we speak today. The Nairobi International Book Fair is one of the biggest. Ghana International Book Fair is another very successful one. Nigeria International Book Fair. And we have the Cairo International Book Fair. And we have Algeria and Tunisia and Morocco. Abidjan, yes, Abidjan International Book Fair, very strong actually. We don't know about it. Of course, we used to have the Cape Town Book Fair that is no longer active. We used to have the Zimbabwe International Book Fair. which was the real book fair in Africa then. And the reason those book fairs failed is, in my mind, is not because there was no need of book fairs. They were not sustainable. They were built on models that involved grants, borrowing money. They were not supported by governments, and they were supported by external funders. So when those external funders dry, the book fair dies. And the beauty about the book fairs we have, the 5, the 6 or 7 I've named now, are fully supported by strong national publishers associations. So the chance of them dying is very little. But I agree with you. And this has been an urgent agenda for APNET, to have one place we can congregate and call it and do an international, an African international book fair. We have had several sessions in our board discussing this. But immediately we came up with, because remember, first we were trying to build acceptance among member states. Of course, if you ask me where the book fair should be held, I will say Nairobi. If I ask him, he'll say Nigeria, although they have no airline. If we ask him, he'll say Ghana. I appreciate the fact that the African Union is headquartered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That would be a good option. We had thought of a rotational book fair in the regions to ensure that we have taken care of Francophone Africa, we've taken care of Lusophone Africa, and we've taken care of Arabic and Anglophone. That was the idea we had, that we could hold the book fair in each of those regions, obviously, so long as those regions have adequate facilities, including transportation and ease of movement. You are very right. One of the biggest challenges we have is as simple as just traveling. If I'm lucky, Nairobi is a hub as well. So you can connect anywhere from Nairobi. But there's some countries that have to come to Nairobi to go to Egypt. And they're from West Africa. Instead of just crossing from West Africa to North Africa. So together with that, we are holding every year a publishers conference, African Publishers Conference, a huge conference. This is the third one now we are organizing. The first we organized in Côte d'Ivoire, the first to hold this conference. Then we took it to Zimbabwe last year. This year we are in Morocco in June. If you note, we are trying to spread not only region-wise, but also across linguistic boundaries. So it is not an English. It's very easy, I being the chairman and coming from an English background, to be biased towards English. It's also very easy, these guys coming from French, to be biased towards French. So we agreed that it shall be rotational, the conference, to ensure that every region has a chance to host. So we'll be in Morocco in June. Now we'll be asking each of us to help us participate in that conference. It's a 3-day conference. We speak about many things African, from policy at government levels, because as you know, most of us here publish for education. That's the biggest market in Africa, educational publishing. And therefore government policy becomes critically important for us. If the right frameworks are not put in place, the right policies, then a lot of publishers die on day one. But equally, we address issues like the reading culture, copyright laws, and we go down to simple things, how to structure another publisher agreement. You know, the real substance of a publisher. We then have a last day that we discuss general things that are affecting countries. Why these countries are not having proper national publisher associations. So it's very important that we congregate and meet as publishers. And the last 3 years or so, we've been meeting, or we kept meeting in foreign land. We kept meeting in Frankfurt, in London, in Bologna, in Sharjah. We kept meeting out of Africa. And we meet to talk about African problems. To me, does it make sense? Yes, let us meet outside Africa, but that time we don't want to talk about African problems. We want to come and learn. We want to come and exchange and buy rights and talk other things. But let's meet in Africa to discuss our issues. And that's why the Publishers Conference is very important. We are thinking, and we've been thinking about it as a board. How can we make publishing in Africa less painful? Because it is painful to publish, I can assure you. We publish with no data. We publish sometimes with feelings. We do not give publishing the business approach, where you're investing in the right works of an author and sufficiently compensating that author, at the same time benefiting from the proceeds of that book. Sometimes we are held with dead stock because we published books we just imagined. So one of the major things we are doing at APNET is data collection, so that we are able to have decisions driven by data, not by feelings. For example, if I told you that a dictionary will sell 500,000 copies, you can't disapprove it or approve it because you don't know. There's nothing backing it. But we are collecting data to tell you that if you publish a dictionary in East Africa, you are likely to sell 5,000 copies. And where are those 5,000 copies going to be sold? In these kind of schools. That is useful data to the publishers. So when you see a message from Ernest asking you to give your data, please, it will be collected, and then given back to you as consumable information. Thank you very much.
I have a question to all the African brothers. My question to everybody in African brothers: how cooperative among yourself, being a publisher in a country? Let it be Ghanaian, let it be Nigerian or Kenyan, does not matter. How you are so cooperative to take the industry in a healthy way, rather than competing each other. I can give you the solution, whatever you said, I can give you the solution in 1 second. To getting the good publishers, investment, reducing your investment. I can give you the solution for getting the books within the budget, and you will not be loser anyway. Chennai is the city, can provide you all kind of publishing solutions. Now even I can give you the proposal to my government. Next event we can able to take up the printer on board in a separate way. That all your problem for printing issues, the transporting issues, we can conclude it. But how cooperative among yourself within the country? Who can answer it?
Looks like he can answer.
Okay, thank you once again for the invitation. Just like Lawrence, this is also my first time to be here, and it's really a great pleasure. I'm coming from Zimbabwe, and we, like you said, we used to have one of the most vibrant book fairs in Africa, but apparently it's down. Hopefully it will come back again, God willing. Getting back to your question of cooperation amongst publishers, I would want to speak particularly to my country, where we struggle sometimes to unite to do certain things that benefit the industry. I would give an example of piracy. We are fighting piracy, but you find that the approach we tend to take, one publisher has got, say, 10 books that are being pirated, then the other has got 1, then the other has got 0, and the next one has got probably 5. So that alone presents a challenge to publishers in terms of cooperation, because the other feels like the one who has got more titles that are being pirated in the streets is supposed to do more to curb piracy, and that also compromise on the unity amongst publishers. So at the end of the day, the scourge of piracy end up continuing, because there is nobody who really wants to commit resources to fight it. Neither the government is also committing to save the publishing industry, because they will just tell you that you need to sell your books half pen if that's what it means for you to also compete with piracy. So at the end of the day, publishers are left to solve some of these problems on their own, and there is so much disharmony in terms of approaching and fighting piracy. Then the other is relates to issues of commonality. You have one publisher, on the other hand, for example, who is going into schools, and they are sort of like underselling their books, or they are doing some underhand dealings with schools. So they obviously are trying to hide certain information to other publishers, because they don't want you to know how they are dealing with, say, schools. So there is that kind of secrecy within the publishing itself, because certain information is not supposed to leak to competition. Then the way we also compete somehow is such a way that it's a winner takes all. Yeah. So when there is a winner takes all, it's an open market kind of a situation. You have your book, you go with it in schools. So if you win all. If you lose all. So that alone also presents challenges for publishers to unite. But recently we have been trying to to assemble all publishers into one place. Apparently it's not easy, but we are trying to get there, to sit down and have a discussion about some of these things. We have an association, but it's not as vibrant as we want it to be, because people are always pulling in different directions. You bring in issues, there is this perception coming from the other publisher, there is this angle coming from another publisher, and those conflicting views means that you cannot resolve something tangible that you have to follow. So that's what we have really been up to. It's not a a good cooperating industry, because we tend to do one or less the same thing. Thank you.
May I add to what he said? I am Nkemi from South Africa. I am a small publisher in South Africa. I think what we also struggle with in South Africa is that we have big publishers and then we've got small publishers. The big publishers are actually UK-based publishers that have established themselves in South Africa, and they do not necessarily need the South African Book Fair. And so with great power, you obviously have a louder voice. So when they don't express the needs of a book fair, it's harder for the smaller publishers to jump up and say, oh no, but we need it, or to be heard to say, but we need it. It's easier for the bigger publishers to obviously attend all the international book fairs and get whatever they need from around the world, and the smaller publishers have to sort of figure it out for themselves. Us as smaller publishers also do not have that unity to speak as one, and when we speak as one, we can become as big of a voice as the bigger publishers. There's also that thing of tippy-toeing around, issues, or tippy-toeing around the way things are done, have always been done, and not wanting to change how things have always been done. We suffer a lot from that. We tippy-toe around issues, we tippy-toe around growth, we tippy-toe around how we express ourselves. You sometimes end up not expressing yourself because you can read the room that this is how things have always been done and this is how they'll always be done. So that's some of the challenges that we also have in South Africa, amongst many others. But those are the ones that I think these are the challenges that are biggest in my company, in some of the SMMEs in South Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, Kemi, let me shift your thinking a little, just for 1 minute. First, I don't believe you are a small publisher. There's nothing like a small publisher and a big publisher, if you ask me. We have an old and established publisher and a young and growing publisher. Small is static. You are growing. Growth is very expensive and not always easily acceptable by the people you find there. But you have to shoulder in. The way things have always been done is the biggest predicament to change. Is the biggest setback to progress, if you ask me. In Kenya, we had the similar problem. We had the Macmillan, the Longman, the Pearson, the Oxford. Today, we challenge that status quo. We don't have a single multinational, so to speak. Even the one which is there, Oxford, is locally run with a local board. So it's as much a local company as any other of the companies. But because of that, it has evened the playground. A young publisher can come in today and tender for a book and get the book. Equal opportunity to every publisher. And to go back to what Munya was saying, yes, it's true, publishers, sometimes we don't know when to stop competing and start cooperating. We are competing every time. That is why the National Publishers Association is important. That is why APNET is important. Because so long as you are dealing with members of the National Publishers Association, you are able to speak to each other and with each other and iron out and put a code of ethics, how to deal and how to behave, even in the field. So I hear what you are saying. And I know what you are saying, especially about South Africa. But for me, I will tell you, shoulder yourself in. Nobody will give you a seat at the table. Push yourself in. And what you are doing, like today here, you are the only South African here. You're already doing exactly that. Maybe you're not realizing it, but later in life, you realize this, because of this, I achieved this. So keep shouldering.
Thank you so much.